China's this exploding market.
It blew my mind.
Let's invest in it now.
Everybody thought, I want to be a part of the China growth story.
We're making a profit. $22 million, $100 million,
$20 billion.
$50 billion.
This was simply too good to be true.
and it was.
That was a clip from the recently released documentary, The China Hustle. It raises questions about Chinese companies that list here in the United States and says that hundreds of them are actually fraudulent and cheating American investors. Joining us right now is the co-founder and chief investment officer of Muddy Waters Research, Carson Block. Carson, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So Muddy Waters, your company, is featured in the film, and you say that these companies pose a significant threat to the United States and our capital markets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about it.
So, as the film shows, last decade, about 400 companies from China listed in the U.S., raised money here, and have basically been confirmed to be frauds. They either delisted or, trade below $1 now. And out of that 400 or so, I think only one company chairman has ever done prison time in the U.S. So basically, everybody got away with it. So in 2012, then, China tried to clean the problem up a little bit. State banks financed take privates of a few of these obvious frauds, and then American investors just forgot and became complacent. And then that opened up the doors for the listings of Alibaba and other Chinese companies. And I think that's where the really big problem comes in.
Carson, two questions. One, is it the glass is half full or half empty, or is it even bigger than that? Do you think it's a disproportionate number of Chinese companies that listed, or is it a small amount and like many, startups, they come and they go? Mm-hmm. Or, and the second question is, Maria obviously has done an incredible amount of work on Alibaba, and there's a lot of differing views about that company. I'd love to hear your insights on that as well.
Because there's a lot of different companies under the Alibaba umbrella, and there was always questions about how the revenue flows.
Right. So first of all, in terms of how big is this problem, people who are insiders in the China world, they will confess that these companies do invent some portion of their revenue, they invent some portion of their profits, but you know what? It's China. That's just how it goes. And, it doesn't matter. They're growing really quickly. And my point is, when we're investing in companies that have falsified profits, that's playing a zero-sum game. And I think we're the ones who are the suckers at the table when that happens. Now, as to Baba, that takes, that's not a company we've done a lot of work on. As far as we're concerned, it's impossible to understand because, the disclosure that Baba gets away with, that we have let Baba get away with, is so poor. And they do it deliberately, I think. They do it to obfuscate what's really going on. Yeah. And unfortunately, investors are just so complacent, it doesn't matter.
I was going to say, you uncovered some of these Chinese companies. They didn't even, not only were they inflating their revenues, they actually didn't even have operations. You would go and you'd go to the building where they say they have an office and there was no one in there, and you'd look around and it'd be dilapidated or it was someone's apartment. Wow. It was pretty egregious what they were getting away with, and there was no accountability. So we talk about double standards now, happening in the media. We were talking about certain situations, but there's the double standard when it comes to Chinese companies listing here in the United States versus American companies listing here in the United States.
But see, that you bring up a really interesting point, because going back to what I was saying about how China insiders will say, well, yeah, these companies invent some of their revenue. See, what you're talking about, China insiders would say, well, yeah, that's a fraud. They lied about having a factory and they didn't have the factory. But, at least this company exists and does something. Okay, the financials aren't real, but, the factory's there, the building's there. So in the China context, that's a real company, and it doesn't really matter what the financials, whether they're reflective or not of what's actually going on in the business.
Is this a point of leverage for the U.S.? In other words, we know the real issues are the theft of intellectual property and the forced transfer of technology. Could the U.S. come back at China and say, look, if you don't stop these practices, we're going to stop you from listing on the New York Stock Exchange?
Well, I think that, yes, there are certainly legislative fixes. But you bring up a really interesting point, because I don't think this is a discrete issue from IP theft, from technology transfer. We are financing, in the cases of Alibaba, in the case of Baidu, we're financing the transfer of strategic technology. One of the things that we as a country are grappling with is the technological edge used to belong to the government and the military. And last decade, the technological edge went to the private sector. So you have private companies in the U.S. running around doing deals, selling parts of their company to Baba, to Baidu, to other companies from China that, at the end of the day, are very well doing the bidding of their masters in Beijing.
Well, how about just Facebook this morning? Facebook giving Huawei, along with other device makers and several other Chinese companies, access to user data and say, oh, it was only on the Huawei phones, it wasn't on the company servers.
By the way, Facebook would not have been able to operate in China had they not done that. You mentioned earlier, Google's not there, other companies are not there because they said to them, yeah, you can operate here so long as you show us your technology, transfer the technology. Facebook agreed.
But can I just add, Carson, many years ago, I'm not going to, maybe over 15 years ago, I think I was with Maria on the floor at the time when UBS did their ADR. And we went through an incredible diligence process. I felt like I was under nonstop scrutiny along with the board in Switzerland to make sure we dotted the I's and crossed the T's. It seems that your real problems with the New York Stock Exchange not putting in a diligence process that you're comfortable with as an investor, because that would shut down many of these happening. Is that accurate or not?
Well, so I'm going to say something that is going to sound really counterintuitive, but in terms of protecting investors from fraud, maybe one of the best things that could happen is that companies not undergo audits. Why? Because audits are not designed to detect fraud. Audits presume that management is telling the truth and that the documents provided are genuine. Because P.S., the people who actually get their hands on these documents during the audits, they're like 26-year-old kids, many of whom in China weren't even accounting majors.
I'll back you up on this.
That
was the case for GE here, too, in the United States, where people were saying, listen, the auditor completely let GE go, do some crazy deals and not report accurately in their eyes, in their opinions.
Yeah. So, look, if management is lying, auditors are not there to, to be the check on management.
I would challenge you on that, but part of it. But my question is, what's the alternative? You're saying not to have an audit? Because they're the independent service.
Okay, so it's not about diligence. I think we need at least some disincentives baked into the system. So from a legislative or regulatory perspective, we need to say to China, until we can inspect your auditors, until you stop saying that audit working papers are state secrets, until you cooperate with us and extradite chairmen of these companies that are frauds, then we are not going to let your companies list here. I think that's a start.
That would be aggressive.
I know public companies and CEOs are going to hate this, but if we brought back Sarbanes-Oxley, where the CEOs and everyone had to literally write and sign on everything they were doing, or they could be criminally,
But that only works if they'll ever do jail time. When they're in China right now,
that's true,
they just laugh at us.
Carson, great, really important issues. Thanks so much. Great insights from you. We appreciate it. We'll be watching.